Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of It's My Turn Now, where once again you get an opportunity to just share what's on your mind, to share in discussion. Tonight we're talking about addressing mental health, addressing various issues, and how we are going to navigate during the holiday season. There are a lot of people who suffer seasonal depression, anxiety, stress. Sometimes people are stressed because they want to buy gifts for everybody, may not have enough money. So we want to just talk about those. And there's some very capable guests on tonight. I'm so excited to have them on. They both have busy schedules. Both are dynamic in what they do. And again, I want to encourage you to just share this, hit that share button. So that your friends may be able to watch this later on. Also, I'm going to add the link on here on my Facebook page if you want a copy, if someone wants it. I'm going to bring on Miss Kelly. Welcome to It's My Turn Now, Kelly Jones.
Hello, it's my turn now.
Very good, very good. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I own a private mental health practice called Steady Minds. It's located in the Fort Harrison area of Indianapolis, and I take self-pay, I take commercial insurance, I take Medicaid, Medicare, and treat all types of mental health disorders, anxiety, depression, OCD, ADHD, schizophrenia, bipolar. I treat children starting, I think my youngest patient is 6, but I prefer at least double digits, so like 10, up until geriatric patients. So.
Very good, very good. So it sounds like you have a pretty busy schedule there. I've been to your office, very beautiful office located there right in the Fort Harrison area. Sister Shirley says, praise the Lord, everyone. And she says she shared. Again, I'm going to ask you if you shared it, type in there, I've shared it, so we'll know that you are sharing the link. Again, we're so glad to have you on, Kelly. And this is not your first time. This is not your first time on the program. As a matter of fact, we also have Renee Williamson, and this is not her first time either. So I'm honored to have both of you on. Welcome again to It's My Turn Now, Evangelist Renee G. Williamson.
It's G. Renee, but you can just say Renee. My name is Renee Williamson, and I have been on before, but it's my turn now. And I am happy to be here with you tonight, just to kind of discuss some of the things that you've mentioned about what people are going through. I also have my own private practice on real close to Keystone at 55th Place. I see clients 18 and over. I have been in practice for a long time, actually been seeing clients for over 10 years and have had my practice for over 7 years. So I offer a lot of the things that Kelly says she offers as well. I don't particularly see younger clients, but I am open to that as well. And I have openings for clients in the evening hours, which is why I was a little bit later getting on tonight, finishing up with a young lady. So.
Good, very good. Actually, Renee and I have actually worked in the same office at one time, so I'm very familiar with her work. When I've actually sat in some of her sessions, and she's done a tremendous job. I've not actually sat in Kelly's in with the session, but I have been in her office. She has a beautiful office as well, and so I would encourage those here. If you need a therapist, either one of these ladies will do a fantastic job. And so there's a great need for that, especially during the holiday season. I think it's extremely important during the holiday season to address this because there are individuals who can be dealing with stress and not even know it, dealing with anxiety and not even know it. And maybe you ladies have some suggestions for our listeners because a lot of times, especially when the area, someone mentioned that on the comment about people spending. Sometimes people are stressed out because they're trying to buy everybody a gift, or they stress out because they know they don't have enough money to give. Sometimes parents will have children. But the demands, I was talking the other day, the demands are a lot different. When I was a kid, I got me a T-shirt and a pair of socks. That was my Christmas gift, and I was thankful for that and better not complain. But now kids, they want Nintendo Switch, they want this, they want that. So things are so much different. But I will say, once I learned and realized that I set a budget, once I went to that budget, whoever didn't get covered in the budget, they had to get covered next year or not get covered at all. So I'm going to start with you. We started with Kelly, so we're going to give you Sister Renee. What's that fancy middle name you got, Sister Renee?
My middle name is Renee.
Oh, all right. I'm being educated, so no wonder you. See, okay, so how you pronounce that first name again?
The name I go by, or you wanting to know what the G stands for?
G, you correct me when I said G earlier, so you just tell me what's the G. What's that? So I like to give people their names, proper names. What's your?
No, it's okay. I've been called Renee all my life.
Okay, I'm just kind of curious what
it's Gwendolyn.
Gwendolyn. Okay, I thought you said something else. Gwendolyn. All right. Evangelist Gwendolyn Renee. All right. So, what are your thoughts on the subject tonight?
On the subject of the navigating the holidays.
Yeah, just in general, what are your thoughts about that and some of your experiences?
Yeah. Well, for one, I think, like you said a few moments ago, Bishop, part of the problem that we experience in today's world is that we have gotten way past where we really believe that it's not necessary to spend thousands and thousands of dollars for people to be happy. Mm-hmm. And one of the other things that happens is that we do stress ourselves out over the fact that we don't have the money to do a lot of things and or do what we would like to do. But the other thing that causes stress is that even when we do those things for our people, sometimes they're not grateful.
True.
And so that brings even more stress. And I'm not saying that no people are, but a lot of times they're not, especially kids that are used to getting what they want. Or, I had, and I won't even say, but I had a family member that I bought some things for one time. And his mother thought that I was, it was beneath them, So I used to feel depressed. I used to feel like, it was a problem for me not to be able to do that. But I learned over the years that as long as I love my people, that's what's more important. And I may or may not buy gifts. I may say, hey, I'm going to get something, or I might say, hey, I'm not going to get something. But the important thing is, and I mentioned that I wanted to say something about what you said. You said some people are depressed, anxious, and have other kinds of disorders or issues that they're not even aware of. A lot of times we have these things going on, but we don't understand that there is a name for it. And sometimes even giving something a name, such as depression or anxiety or bipolar disorder or whatever, sometimes giving that name to that disorder or issue can create even more anxiety or even more depression, because then we feel like, they're saying that I'm this or I'm that, or, sometimes people say, well, I'm not crazy. Well, no, you're not.
Right.
You're not crazy. But we do have to admit that we have some issues going on. Sometimes I was thinking yesterday about how people sometimes think that other people are lazy. I had another experience the other day where somebody said, oh, he just don't want to work. He don't want to do this. He don't want to do that. Now, I firmly believe that if you don't work, you don't eat, because that's in the Bible, right? But I also know that if a person does not do what they have to do on a daily basis, they won't even go out and attempt to get a job. They don't do anything, but they sit around all day long, play video games, or they don't go out of the house. And maybe they used to go out of the house and then they stop feeling comfortable with going out, or just don't have an interest in it. Those are depression symptoms.
So true.
And a lot of times people think that it's laziness. When my son got sick, his dad would say things like, "Oh, he just need to get himself together." Well, if you have a clinical depression diagnosis, a schizophrenia diagnosis, or something else, that's not something you can just get together.
Right.
Sometimes you need help, and prayer starts. It starts out with prayer, but God has given us provision to have somebody to be able to help us to navigate through those times. Because if we already start out with depressive symptoms, or we're anxious and worry and can't sleep at night because I'm worried about not being able to do for my kids what I've been able to do in the past or never have been able to do. And I can't sleep at night, I can't eat. Those are symptoms of anxiety. And a lot of times we don't realize, we don't know what the symptoms are. So we label those with other things like she just talks too much, or
Right.
she's lazy. You go in her house, her kitchen, her dishes are dirty. But
Mhm.
that's not it, all of it all either, because sometimes people can overclean.
That's true.
Sometimes we're trying to compensate for what we're not feeling or how we're feeling, or trying to cover up something that we are feeling and going through. And so we overcompensate for that. We do more than we really need to. We get on other people's nerves. We call and want to talk because we want to talk.
Right.
And people are saying, man, I don't want to answer that phone call because I know she's going to talk all day and all night. But that's where we have to recognize that we do need some help. And there's nothing wrong with getting help, even especially around this time. People have, like we were talking earlier about, people having seasonal depression and things coming up. But the problem is we already have it. And this kind of this time of the year can add to what we're already going through, what we already experiencing. It can overwhelm us at that point.
That's so true. Sometimes people don't even know it. Keith Hughes says, "Praise the Lord, Bishop. God bless you, Brother Keith. Thanks for joining us. My turn now." A lot of times, people may not even recognize the fact that may not even know what's going on. They may not feel like doing anything. May just feel like something's wrong. So I think it's like a two-edged sword. Sister Renee, you mentioned once people are diagnosed with something, then they feel like, oh, something is wrong with me. But I think, especially when we deal with the church community, I think we have to realize, be honest, and I'm going to let you address this, Kelly. A lot of times people are hesitant in the church community to say, hey, I'm feeling down, I'm feeling blue, and they just not being, even pastors. I've seen pastors, I'm fortunate I have some pastors that are pretty transparent with me, but a lot of pastors, they just say, man, and you can become overwhelmed. This is the time of year that you can become overwhelmed. And I'm going to say, before I turn to Kelly, sometimes mothers are stressed out because of a desire to want to do and demands of kids. Sometimes you got to tell them kids, I just can't do it. Some parents are child police. They want to do everything to please that child, and just can't do it. And they work 2 and 3 jobs trying to please that child. And like we said earlier, child may not appreciate it. What are your thoughts, Ms. Kelly? You talk about that or what other area?
So live within your means. I used to have a budget that I would start in January. It was a holiday budget. Mm-hmm. And I would just take out maybe like $100, $50 every paycheck, so that by the time Christmas rolled around, I had X amount of dollars. I was looking at a budget the other day, and you have to set a budget, and you have to be realistic with your children and not set unrealistic expectations, because if you start doing that, it is going to be like a dog trying to catch its tail. You're not going to be able to catch up or keep up. And you don't want your children to learn how to live, beyond their means. You want to teach them to be responsible with their money. I mean, it doesn't make sense to, have all these toys and the lights are turned off.
Exactly.
What sense does that even make? I mean, and then the toys, depending on the age of the child, you get them for Christmas by, January, February, they're ready to move on to the next thing. And you haven't even finish paying off, Christmas, and you're behind and things are spiraling. Now you got interest payments, and the interest payments are more than the car note sometimes, depending on what you have. So be realistic with your child, set a budget. Maybe choose one or two things, but maybe you can't get everything on the list, but you can get, a few things, and maybe you can't get the designer version of the whatever it is that they want. But if you can get something similar, then that's okay. And I know kids can be cruel and they tease. I treat children, so I hear them saying that, they're making fun of me because I have knockoff shoes or I don't have brand name, whatever. But, just teaching your children that you are not what you have on, or, you don't have to compare yourself. And we are really bad about doing that. So set a good example for your child.
Very good. I think parents do need to teach their children that they don't have to have. And I think some of their parents have spoiled a lot of these kids till there's a great expectation. And when the parents are not able to meet the expectation, and maybe, the times we're living now, people are getting laid off from the jobs, especially federal workers. There may have been a time when they were able to do that, but now what happens when you're no longer able to do it, And so they have to prepare for that. And again, during this holiday season, there are a lot of people who have lost their jobs. About, let's say, over 3,000, between 3,000 and 4,000, 400,000 African-American women have gotten laid off their jobs. That's a fact. So, and a lot of times in the household, the females are the head of the house. Unfortunately, the majority of them are the head of the house. So when that source of income is gone, there's a greater need, even more so. And so that's something that has to be addressed. And it's hard when you're used to doing and you can't do it. So that affects the parent, mother or father, who wants to give and know they're no longer able to give. Because if you build yourself on being able to give people, and that's your self-esteem, is, hey, look what I can do. I can give you this gift and I can give that. And also you can't do it, then, where's your value system at? And that's important too, where we set our value.
Exactly. Even if you have the money for it, Bishop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's true. Just those value systems. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of pivot, change. A lot of people dealing with grief. I know, and I want to send my prayers out to the Christian family. They lost their mother. And also the Madison family just lost their father, husband within the last 2 or 3 weeks. She just passed in the weeks. And so when we deal with holiday sync, is extremely affects extremely when we're dealing with holiday season, because that person who was once at that table is no longer at the table. And I'm going to start you with this one, Kelly. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, having the empty seat at the table is very difficult. Sometimes that person was the matriarch or the patriarch of the family, and even where are we even going to hold the family gathering this year, because we used to have it at Grandpa's house, and Grandpa's not here. And sometimes, when Grandpa isn't there and he was the head, then the family just kind of seems like it falls apart. People are dealing with a lot of loneliness at the holidays because of loss and missing loved ones. And then there are, maybe the person that was there was the one that held the family peace. And so now, if Big Mama is no longer here, are her children and grandchildren going to get along, or are there going to be, fights during the holiday? So you have to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. Grief is not linear. I mean, today you could be dealing, you're doing okay. And then you may smell somebody that had a perfume that was similar to what your mother wore.
Mm-hmm.
And that can trigger you. Or, someone says something, or, made a sweet potato pie, but it wasn't like your mom's,
Right.
That can be triggering. So just allow yourself to take, self-care, be around family and friends that you guys can celebrate the memories of tradition. Maybe you guys try to recreate Big Mama's sweet potato pie this year, and honor your family members, your loved ones, with those good memories and good times and good traditions, by carrying those things on. And then just, if you need to seek out some mental health care, if you feel yourself like sleeping too much or too little, being really irritable, eating too much or too little, being really sad. It's okay to be sad, but when it's, all day, every day, you're not able to function, you're not able to experience joy, you're isolating yourself, and it's becoming difficult to go to work or go to school. It's time to get some help. So just making sure that you're always checking in with yourself, doing self-care, and if you need to, get some help.
Very
Right.
good. Renee, tell us about the seasonal affective disorder.
Seasonal affective disorder. That is what happens when, say, this season, this winter season, this snow, holidays are coming on, but mostly because of the fact that it's dark outside when we get up in the mornings. It's dark outside before 7 o'clock, before 6 o'clock sometimes. There's snow. I can't go out of my house like I would like to go out of my house. I can't move about like I would like to move about. And because of that, now I am feeling out of sorts. I'm feeling irritable. I'm, like Kelly said, paying attention to the symptoms. Seasonal affective disorder is a disorder that comes because it's 8 o'clock right now, and a couple of months ago at 8 o'clock, it'd still be light outside. But now it's not there. And so we get off, we start to feel off. And those kinds of things can make us, cause us to feel like make us feel like the things that Kelly was saying, the symptoms she was calling out for depressive symptoms. Though this kind of season, this cold, wet, dreary, darkness, it can cause people to have a lot of those symptoms. And sometimes people think that people are just angry and irritable all the time. That's a depressive symptom.
Right.
Like Kelly said, laying around, it's okay to rest. But when you find yourself waking up and not wanting to get out of the bed at all, you stay in the bed only to get up and go to the bathroom, or only to get up and not want to go to work. You don't want some people lose jobs because they can't function. It has nothing to do with has nothing to do with me being lazy. It just means that I can't function anymore. I'm isolated. I don't get pleasure out of going and doing the things that I normally do because it's a different season. And sometimes, Bishop, I have talked to people about seasons changing. Sometimes it has nothing to do. Oh no. Sometimes it has nothing to do with outside seasons, but just seasons in our lives that change.
That's true.
That cause us to have different things going up, like the grief, the changes in our families where our children grow up and go out of the home and we find ourselves at home by ourselves. These are different seasons in our lives that also can bring about those same effects of seasonal affective disorder.
So you're right. There are a lot of things that can affect you. I know personally when the October and November comes around, it affects me because when I was younger, in my teen years, we suffer a lot of deaths. Aunts and uncles, I think like 4 or 5 died within 6 months. October, and so there's a clock. We have an internal clock. Sometimes we don't even recognize it. That it tends to affect us, and sometimes, and we're going through something emotional. We wonder, hey, what's going on? It's something different. And sometimes you think about it, you can track it. What happened in my life around this time of year? Because your mental, your internal clock remembers that, and you can start feeling funny. Say, I don't know why I'm feeling funny, and it could be associated with the loss of a loved one.
Exactly. And I remember times when that happened to me when my husband died. every year around September 26th, I
Right.
would start to feel off, But I wanted to kind of touch again on the seasonal affective disorder. The other thing that we do during that time is we increase our eating, our I want to say wrong eating habits. That's around the time it's comfort foods. We seek
Right.
out more carbohydrates, and so then we start to pick up weight, and then once we start to pick up weight, that kind of thing can cause more depression. And it's hard to shed the weight, so then that causes more depressive symptoms. A lot of things can happen. Again, you can feel fatigued all the time. You can feel uh, actually be even more sensitive to things that you normally wouldn't be sensitive to. You can feel like somebody is mistreating you, and it's not really happening. So then you feel like neglected sometimes. And I do a group with the residents in Zion Tabernacles home apartment building.
Very good.
And I've noticed that a couple of them have asked to be seen individually, and they deal with this disorder, the sad disorder. They deal with that even though it's not necessarily the fall and winter. Sometimes it's just ongoing because we don't have our family's not around. We've moved out of our homes now. We are not in the place where we used to being. We can't cook for ourselves like we used to, and people don't come and see about us. So that can also add to it. And especially around holiday times, that can be a very discouraging time in our lives. Again, that can be considered a seasonal thing, even though it may not happen in the winter or fall.
Okay. I do grief and loss seminars, and I've listened to what you're saying. A lot of times, people can be grieving the loss of mobility, loss of health, loss of family, loss of permanent residence. I I sell real estate also, and I had a client. She went to the hospital, and her caregiver contacted me to sell her home. And so I listed her house for her, went to me, and she said, I knew that was going to happen. I knew when I got to the hospital, they were not going to let me go back to my home. And so we had the house list, and I talked to her, and I said, well, you're in a bad place. But she called me a couple of weeks afterwards. She said, you know what? She said, I think I want to go back to my house. I said, that's fine. I said, because I understood. I said, let's go back. If you're not able to handle it, just go as long as you can. I wasn't going to argue with her and say no, because I knew how that affects. She's
Of
80
course.
years old or something like that. That's all she knows. Can you imagine the permanence in your home, and you lost a lot of family members, husband, children, and that's the last thing you have is your home. So a lot of people are dealing with issues like that. Some type of grieving the loss of job, or grieving the loss of home, and that's compounded. I think during a holiday, it really compounds it during the holiday season.
Exactly. And one of the other things that I deal with in grief and loss counseling is the loss of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of people who are estranged from family,
Right.
estranged from husbands, wives, sisters, brothers. I had a client a year ago who had lost her mother, and she had lost a sister, and her other family members were not rallying to help, and disregarding her own feelings. And she felt like, she was really devastated, and her grief was compounded because of the fact that she didn't have these other relationships, and I asked her, I said, do you think that it may be that you're grieving the relationships that you have, even though they're not deceased? I
Right.
know your mom's deceased and your sister's deceased, but are you grieving also those relationships that are still possible but they're just not. And that kind of situation can cause even more of a compounded grief situation.
Right. Very good. Sister Sarah says, praise the Lord. She's on here. Let me see if I clicking on here. It's not. Oh, there you go. She's praise the Lord to everyone. Thank you for joining us, Sister Sarah. You're so right. What do you think about that, Sister Kelly? I'll let you address that.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's so many types of grief and loss and estrangements. I have had patients whose children, adult children, have not talked to them in years. They haven't seen grandchildren. They haven't seen the children. And I mean, the holidays and everybody else is with their family and they are alone. Or some people are just kind of loners and they're okay. But at the holidays, it magnifies. I feel like the holidays don't create the problems, but they magnify them. So if you, are stressed during the holidays, you will really be stressed. If finances are an issue during the holiday, they are really going to be magnified. And the same thing with loneliness and divorce, separation, all of those. Pregnancy loss, children, like losing children, losing miscarriages, those can be magnified. People are buying stuff for their children and kids, and if you've lost children, don't have any. Some parents, I have a patient I saw today, her mother is grieving because she's spending more time with her in-laws than she is with her mother. She's only child. And so her mother is like, you're the only child I have, and I am not able to spend the holidays with you. And so mother is grieving. For some people that are caregivers, my father was a caregiver to my mother who has end-stage Alzheimer's. And so, but he put her in respite, which I do when I worked in inpatient. I did notice during the holidays, respite was very, we were packed, we were busy because that caregiving role and strain. I mean, that's very difficult if you're not able to go to the holiday functions and enjoy yourself because you have caregiving strains. And then, for people that are disabled or have lost a job or are now underemployed, not being able to provide for yourself and family members and children like you maybe had, grandchildren. Those are all losses, loss of health. Maybe, you had been healthy and you're dealing with an acute illness or a chronic illness. Sometimes people are in pain, dealing with mental illness, because of SAD, because of, the winter being very difficult, especially for those of us living in, colder climates. That's a difficult time. And so all of these different types of loss can be very difficult to deal with.
Right.
I think it's important that people have someone to talk to. I think, and people have to not be afraid. And again, I always talk about taking the stigma off therapy. You may need someone to talk to. It's a good investment to go see a therapist. And a lot of times people don't know that they have, a lot of times those that are working, there's a lot of jobs that will pay for what 6 to 8 sessions free counseling. So employee assistance program.
I accept EAP clients as well, and I also accept cash pay. I do take all the insurance clients or payments as well. So there's really, if you want to have therapy, if you want to have somebody to talk to, if you have insurance or if you don't have insurance, check with your job and see if they offer EAP programs, because I get them call Aetna and Optum call me all the time with new clients that they're paying for. I just got a new one that pays for 20 sessions a year.
Wow.
And someone will extend. I've had them initially start with 8, but depends how the therapist writes it up.
Exactly.
And I've had them to extend it. So that's possible. But people need to be aware that there is help out there. You don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to go through this. And don't feel that you're the only one going through. I think what magnifies it too is you feel like, wow, what's wrong with me? Nobody else is going through. Because the person smiling does not mean that they're not hurting, they're not suffering, and they're not going through something. Everybody's smiling because too many times, I think too, we have to be aware and to check in on our families, because there are a lot of people commit suicide this time of year, and a lot
Yes.
of times people say, "Well, I didn't expect. I don't know. I just saw them yesterday." You don't know what a person is dealing with, so I always believe in
Exactly.
checking in on a person. Hey, how are you doing? How are things going? Ask them how are you going? How are they doing? And a lot of times they'll be honest with you and listen, and take the time to listen. So, especially, I think the church. I'm a strong advocate. The church should take a bigger role in addressing it. I may encourage that there's some churches listen, have a session one Sunday or one Friday, just come together. People need to get together, especially if you're a person all by yourself. That's why a lot of churches, especially church I attend to, a lot of older people, they didn't have family friends, so they were faithful to church because that was their social structures, all they had.
Exactly. But we don't do that anymore. So that also adds to all of the stuff that we're seeing nowadays that we didn't used to see some time ago. And it is very important that we understand and help other people to understand it's okay to talk to somebody. And that's what actually mental health therapy is. It's actually just talk therapy,
Right,
giving a
exactly.
person an ability to be able to get out. When my clients come in, I let them talk for as long as they need to, whether that's one session, two sessions, three sessions, and then we can talk about goal setting and things like that. I do ask what their goals are, but I allow them to talk because sometimes it has taken them a
Mm-hmm.
long time to decide to come and see somebody. And
Right.
then when they get there, they need to be able to say, "Oh, this is what's going on with me," and it might sound like rambling. Excuse me. It may sound like rambling to us, but it's not. It's what's on their minds.
Right. I had a client. This person was out of town. When I
Oh,
first met this client, I thought he was just a rough person. It was a male client, and when I went to Zoom only, and not this person lived about an hour and 15 minutes away, and he would come an hour and 15 minutes to the session. When I went from in-person session to Zoom, he was so disappointed. He said, I look forward to that every week. That was a highlight of my week. I never thought that just being in person meant that much to him. It meant a lot to him. He was really he was, I mean, you talking about a grown man getting teary eyed when I told him, "Hey, I'm not seeing any clients." I mean,
right.
it really affected him. So I gave him a few more times before I had to wean him off, because we all have to set boundaries in therapy. So I had to
Right.
give him more
But
time.
that speaks to, again, um, the fact that there people are, like Kelly mentioned, loneliness, and I had that written down in my notes. Loneliness, isolation, being not having people that you can really talk to. And then even if you do have somebody you can talk to, sometimes you can only say so much before people say, "Oh my gosh, she's getting on my nerves," that kind of thing. So it's important to have the fact that he would drive that far to come for an in-person session
Right.
meant that there was something going on that he felt like he needed to get there. And sometimes we have to just be available for that. And I get it. You do have to set boundaries.
Also too, now that wasn't his situation, but there's sometimes people are in situations in the home that's not conducive to a healthy environment, not conducive to them mentally, their mental well-being, and so they just need to get out of the house. They need to get away, and they need to
Once a week. Yeah.
two times a week if they can.
Exactly.
For sure. So my follow-up appointments are 20 minutes, but for the patients so that's virtual, but I told for my assistants, no, anybody that comes in the office, they get double the time. So they get 40 minutes. Because if you drive into the office, you want to sit down. I'm not going to rush you out in 20 minutes. You get 40 minutes. And some people get an hour. And so I'm doing medication. So I don't get, I bill a certain way, but for the most part, insurances don't expect me to take an hour to do a follow-up because it doesn't really take that long. But there are some patients I know, they come in the office and they're like, they just like, wow, I'm just woosah, it's time. And I let them talk. Now we eventually got to get to some medication, so they can't talk the whole time. But I give them, a certain amount of time to just release, because for some, they are the strong person. They are the ones that everybody in the family, all the friends come to them and pour all of their issues on them, and they're carrying this load, and they're like, I have nobody that
Exactly.
no one that's going to listen to me, no one that their family and friends would fall out if they said, hey, I need to talk. Hey, I'm not okay. That
Right.
was,
Right.
just dumping everything onto them, but you cannot pour from an empty cup. I mean, you have to get refueled. And so
Rejuvenated. Yes.
absolutely.
That also goes for therapists as well.
Yeah. Oh,
We
definitely.
as therapists have to know when enough is enough and when we have to take a mental break. And I know, Ms. Kelly, you'll leave the country in a minute, so I guess you take advantage of that. But I do think, these are stressful times, and everybody is dealing with a lot of stress. This case is time to escape. Everybody's dealing with a lot of stress. We have about 15 more minutes, a little about 20 minutes. I want you ladies just, we talk about the problems. What are some of the solutions to some of these problems?
So I think number one, that you should set some boundaries for your mental health. We just came off of, really, it was a 5-day stretch for our family for the holidays. My birthday was on last Wednesday. So we had Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thank you. And so, some of my family members were asking, well, why isn't so-and-so here? I said, everybody can't go for five. We had 5 different days where we were just going. And let me tell you, I'm tired. I had to get up and go to work today. But for me, I'm more of an extrovert. So being around people, is very uplifting and rejuvenating, and I feel energized. But for somebody that's an introvert, that is draining. And so, and I was telling my cousin, I said, everybody is not built like us. And that is okay. You don't have to, we're not all the same. But just making sure you say, you know what, I'm going to come to the event. I'm only going to stay 2 hours, and then I'm getting my stuff and I'm leaving. And that is okay. Don't judge your family member because they're leaving. That's as much as they can handle. They don't have the bandwidth to go to every single event. That's just not okay for them. And also, one of the things, family members can just be, what do I want to say? Everybody doesn't live the same. Like, what works for your family, your wife might fix your plate, and that works for you. Right. It's none of my business that your wife is fixing your plate, and it's not for me to come up to you with your wife and say, girl, he can get his own plate. I mean, I don't do that for my husband. I mean, like, mind your business.
Yeah, exactly.
If this is what works in my house, okay. Mm-hmm. And same thing with parenting. One of my grandsons was getting, he asked me for something, and my cousin was like, say please. Say please, say please. That's, he doesn't, it's not a requirement of mine. It's not a requirement of mine. He doesn't have to say please. And another one of my cousins was yelling at his great niece because she said hey to her mom. Well, that might be disrespectful for you, but it's disrespectful for you to be yelling at a kid. I mean, don't yell at her because she's saying hey. I mean, that is traumatizing. The way some of the stuff that we did, like, it's not okay to do that. And so families need to be careful, like, mind your business at the holidays.
All right. I think my wife said the exact same thing. She typed it as you were saying right before you said she put mind your business. I think this right here is really different. That's a whole segment in itself, is how,
I was thinking the same thing.
Relational dynamics are different. Not only that, in different cultures, dynamics. I remember when I was in grad school, I didn't realize that a lot of times we tell people, we in the US, we tell folks, tell your in-laws to stay out of your business. But in the culture, that they are intertwined. You can't tell them because that's part of the culture. So I think we have to understand the various cultural dynamics involved in everything. So that's a lot of things. So that's a very interesting point, because I don't mind telling the kid say thank you or say please.
I was thinking the same thing. I think that's a thing in my household. I believe in that.
Thank you, baby. Yes, please, thank you, teacher.
But she's right. Whatever it is good for you, it's good for you. But I think for me, that I'm with you, Bishop. Please and thank you.
Thank you. I was just talking yesterday. I was telling someone when I was in school, we would be in a class, and the young folks walk right between us and the professor. Not say excuse me or anything, just walk and
Right.
take the time. Let her. I would go all the way to the back of class and walk around, but they walk right across while the professor is lecturing. And I think it's just a different cultural thing. Again, that's a whole new subject. It's a different cultural thing.
It is a whole different subject. It is because actually it can, and that culture can be what you do, what she said in your household, what you do. In my household, it's a different culture. So it doesn't just necessarily mean different nationalities and things like that. But, drug addiction and the people who are involved in that have their own culture, So, yeah. But again, back to, if you don't mind me going back to what we were talking about,
Yes.
you asked about what can we do about the depressive symptoms and being sad.
Can I interject one thing I want to say? Is
Yes.
I get older, I cannot forget. So you pray for me. I have to get out, else I'll forget. One of the things too during holiday season, they're just different cultures, not mainly in church, but some people are encouraged to drink more.
Yes.
And you go events. Same with eating. People are encouraged to eat more. You go over everybody's house, especially on Thanksgiving time. You go to this house, go to the house. People eat more, and there's some people who are enticed to drink more. Everywhere you go, you have holiday parties. You have on your job, on your school. When you and I work together every year, we would have the party. Our boss would take us out to dinner, and there would be drinking. So a lot of people are who may have issues or struggle in that area, they may find themselves struggling because they're in that environment. And so these are things too. So you can go back to what you're saying about some solution. You can talk about solution for that as well.
Yeah. You're right. That kind of thing. And that is where Kelly was talking about, or I don't know, one of you said something about setting boundaries. That's where we have to set boundaries and say for ourselves, because I don't know if you all have seen the commercial where they talk about how when you go to holiday parties or they have pitch-ins at work and things like that, and you'll find yourself eating and you don't really even realize that that's what's going on, but you find yourself eating just because it's a party. But instead of just being loose like that and just doing whatever or eating whatever, you should set boundaries and say, I might eat one piece of this or I might eat one piece of that, and stick to that, because otherwise that can get you in trouble. But one of the things I did want to mention,
Renee, but what if a person doesn't have the ability to set that boundaries? What should they? Because I used to go out late with my friends, and we used to go out after service. We used to go out late together. Friends would get together and eat. And I said, I'm not going to eat, but guess what? I find myself eating. So what I started
because everybody else is doing it.
Exactly. So I just start cutting out. They asked me, you want to go? I said, no, I'm not going, because I guess I didn't have enough willpower to not eat, because especially the foods out there, you're going to eat. Some people, so you may have to say, listen, I'm going to have to just miss this right here, because some people just don't have that willpower. Now, so Sarah says, I am loving this tonight because I can relate to most of what is being said. I am glad I got a chance to tune in. We're glad that you tuned in, Sarah. Thank you. So what do you do? What do you do about that?
Do what you just said. Make a decision to not go, or make a decision that you're going to leave before the food is served, or make a decision that, I'm going to limit a certain amount. And if you can't limit, then don't go. And it's okay not to go. That's, again, setting boundaries and sticking to them. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us don't know how to do that. We don't have that stick-to-itiveness, but we have to learn. That's one of the things we have to learn, because that's actually a trigger. And triggers come from us just automatically responding to, things, the results come from us responding to those triggers, and we have to be able to see the trigger coming. And but the only way we can do that is to know what the trigger is. The trigger is, I'm going to this place and they're going to have food. And I know that already. So I either go and leave early or I don't go at all.
I will say this right here. Now, if anybody want to invite me over for the holiday, don't let that stop, because I have learned to control myself. It's just late night eating. I just thought I'd make that plain.
Kelly, don't invite him to your house.
Just in case somebody wants to invite me over, it's that late night eating. That's at 10, 11 o'clock.
Don't invite him to eat.
and decide on one of the things that you can decide on. Do you want A, B, C, D, or E? Do you want an appetizer? Do you want to drink a beverage, like a sugary drink? You want to have a cocktail? Do you want a dessert, or like a more high caloric entree? But you can't have all five. You got to choose.
Portion control. There you go.
Now, my wife, if you ask her which one I would pick, I guarantee she'll know which one I would pick.
Dessert.
What is it?
And it's a most unhealthy choice.
Dessert.
If you want dessert, I'll take a dessert.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of us will.
Yeah, dessert has not always been my best choice. I do it more now than I had. Well, I can't say that either. I like dessert, but it has to be a specific kind. It can't be sugary, sweet. Yeah.
I think what we said is setting boundaries, because another thing we talked about it briefly, we hit on, but a lot of times you find yourself. I told you my wife, she put dessert up on there. She already knows. A lot of times, we find ourselves eating because we go certain places. And I remember one time, I was going to a lot of different people eating out. But then what happens is, after you eating, then you start feeling bad because you start noticing those extra pounds, and that creates a certain degree of anxiety. And then that's when it's the first of the year. It's the first day it's always interesting. The first day of the new year, you see everybody at the Y. That place is packed.
2 weeks later, they're not.
Keep it off for sure. So, if we start our New Year's resolution now of cutting back, and doing moderation, I think it affects you mentally too, mentally as well, emotionally and physically, the weight that you gather.
Yeah, it's portion control, basically.
So true. What are some other suggestions? We have a few more minutes if either one of you one of the topics.
How about well, sometimes when you talk about going to events and you're riding with some people or couples, the woman might be the extrovert and the man the introvert. I say drive separately so you can leave when you are ready, and it's okay, and pre-plan that and be okay with that. Mm-hmm. One of the things that you could do is just if you're somewhere and things are really getting to you, just go to the side and do some deep breathing, do some grounding, where you use your senses. You name one thing you can smell, 2 things you can feel, 3 things that you can taste, maybe 4 things that you can hear, 5 things that you can see, just to get grounded. Also, self-care, create some relaxing playlist. Do something fun. You can go to the Dollar Tree and get like the diamond art, something that will take your mind and focus off the stress, the holidays, missing the loved ones. Just make sure you are refueling yourself. I think everybody needs at least one friend, one family member that you can call and talk to, one support person, and call on that person and make sure that you are checking in with them and them with you, and letting them know when you're not okay. It's okay not to be okay. And right. Boundaries they're not walls, they are doors.
Exactly.
And you get to decide when and how they open, and it's okay.
Yeah, I want to add to that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just excuse me, just for me. Before we leave, I want to ask you ladies to text your contact information. The text, just in case someone wants to contact either one of you. Just text your information in the comment box. because there may be someone that's watching this right here. Again, I think it's important. You don't have to have a mental problem because you're going to see a therapist. You're saying, I need someone to talk to. I need someone to. And I would encourage churches, a lot of times churches have services just so you can come and hear the preacher preach, or a Bible class. Maybe you have a session where you just let people get together and just talk. Just share, just coming together, just greeting.
And can I just say really quick, and just for solutions, for one, find a therapist, find someone, like Kelly said, find just that one friend, family member that you can connect with, that you can talk to and talk. One other thing that I was thinking about is, especially for this seasonal affective disorder, get out of the house.
Yeah.
And I know that's hard sometimes, especially with you having that disorder or having those symptoms of, being depressed or down because you are because of the weather or because it's fall or winter. But make up your mind to go out of the house, even if you just go stand on the front porch in the sunniest part of the day, because that's the biggest part of it, is that the lack of sunlight takes away our ability to be okay. So get some kind of sun. Stand in the doorway just so you get some kind of sun, and I promise you, if you go out when it's sunny outside, just stand outside for a few minutes, you're going to get some vitamin D, and that's going to help you in a whole lot of ways.
Very good. I think it's a very good suggestion. I think too, it's good to have an accountability partner. If you can find somebody that's you can talk to, somebody that can get you out of the house, somebody that's going to say, hey, come go. And I would encourage those who are watching here, call your friends up. If you know somebody that's normally sociable and all of a sudden they're not too sociable, call them and say, hey, let's get together. Let's get together. Let's go somewhere simple. It doesn't take a lot of time. Now, Kelly, you sent yours through the chat, so I just reposted so they can be on the Facebook page. So,
and how should I send it?
Just on the link, just in the message box here. And if you send to the chat, I'll go and correct it for you.
Is that the comments?
Right in the comment, yes, ma'am.
And is that?
Sure, it's good to see you, Evangelist Williams, and thank you both, Ms. Kelly
You
Jones.
too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Sister Renee.
Oh, you got to connect to do that, right?
Yeah. Or you can do it. You can do it even if you go to my Facebook page, or if you have it up on your Facebook page, you can go. Also, it's kind of late now, but I always put the link on there because if someone wants to come on live when they see the link to the program, they could click the link and come on live. As Sister Kelly knows, her friend came on live last time and share a lot of good information with us. So we're thankful for her. Surprised we didn't hear her on this time.
I didn't know which link to send. I felt like they were like part of the show. And so I'll have to, just figure out how to send the correct link. But I do want to say, for yourselves, to set realistic expectations. Like, you don't have to attend every event, just choose one or two. And holidays don't need to be perfect. They just need to be peaceful. That's super important.
I'm gonna say I like what you said. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's a very good
exactly
statement. It doesn't have to be perfect because sometimes people feel like things are going wrong and what's going wrong, and things have to be perfect. Even that gift doesn't have to be a perfect gift. You don't have to give the person the most expensive gift. Like I said, give them something simple. People who appreciate you doing something for them. It's not the value. There's some people who are just selfish and they want the best, the high price of everything, but you can't please everybody. Some people you just realize you can't please everybody. So, and be okay with that. I'm okay with it. Sister Renee, I'm okay. I used to not be okay, but I'm okay with it. If you don't get anything from me, and I give from my heart. So if I give something and no one gives me anything back, I'm okay with that. Maybe Sister Renee will come back on. We kind of lost her. We have a couple more minutes on here, but I think this is a very good subject. If someone's listening, just type that you enjoy it. And I think I want to talk for the rest of the month on dealing with doing season, navigating through the holiday season. So I may have you ladies back on if your schedule will allow you to come back on again, because I think this is a very interesting subject. If you're watching and you have a question, feel free to type the question in to the comment box, and we'll address that at a later time. And also give us some likes and hearts, or comment if you enjoy watching the program, even if you watch it after the program's off, because I have a lot of people who wait till the program goes off before they'll watch it for some reason. And sometimes I have someone say, well, I don't want them to see my name. Well, I can't really see on the platform. I can't even see who's on here unless you type a message in there. So I don't. So I have people say, well, I don't come on because I don't want you to see me, and I don't want, feel like I have to say anything. But you don't have to say anything. But we certainly appreciate those who come on. We appreciate your comments each week. And we certainly appreciate you, Ms. Kelly, for being on here. Appreciate your support. Ms. Kelly has supported my books. She purchased a number of my books. We don't ask how many she's read, but she's purchased a number of my books, which I certainly appreciate. I think some you mentioned to referring to some of your clients. So if there's someone out here that wants to purchase books, I'm up to 22 books right now. God has blessed me to write 22 books. And I guess it's just my season. So if you think about a gift to give someone, I deal with books with relationships. I deal with grief and loss, and I deal with self-help books. The Worth of Woman is probably one of my, I've sold it all over the country, The Worth of Woman. And then I create the Evolving Male for Men. But I wanted to say this right here. Men have to realize that they need counseling. A lot of times women are more willing to go to counseling before men will, but most of the guys, about every male that's come to my office have told me, you know what, I didn't think it would be like this. I thought it would be much difficult, especially when I've done couples counseling. A lot of times the men sometimes end up staying along with the women because they were just amazed how it helped them. And so I encourage anyone, if you're going through some stress, depression, anxiety, you're having challenges, just need someone to talk to, hey, just reach out. These ladies are leaving their information. I don't know what happened to Renee. If you, when you come back on later on, if we're all, please leave your information, Renee, so that they can reach out to you. We see that Ms. Kelly has left her information, www.steadyminds, that's MINDZ.com. Her office number is 317-550-0273. Let me repeat that again. I don't want to give out the wrong number. Somebody's listening and wonder why they aren't calling you. 317-550-0273 is her number. And if you don't reach her directly, please leave a message. I'm sure it's okay to say that, right?
Yes, absolutely. Leave a message.
Well, I was going to try to give Renee a chance to come back on. If you there, Renee would give a few more minutes to come back on. We hate for you to just cut off. I don't know what happened. But things happen. This show is unscripted. Things happen. But I appreciate both of you ladies' input. I'm sure our audience, were well informed by what you all said, and you ladies are both very knowledgeable. Ms. Kelly, you have a lot of experience, especially as well as you deal with medication for those who may need some additional help to deal with medication as well. I worked with Ms. Renee, and so she and I actually worked in the same office. That's when I was working full time, and I got to the point where I said, I'm retired now. I don't want to go full time. At my age, I'm at a point in my life where I don't have no stress. Or very little stress because I'm doing what I want to do. I'm in a place where I do it. If I don't want to do it, I just don't do it.
Wow, that's amazing.
that comes from setting boundaries and making proper decisions. Mm-hmm. If I didn't make the proper decisions, if I didn't cut back on a lot of things, I wouldn't be positioned to do that. So I think we have to realize that after Christmas, as one the most important thing. After Christmas, you got to live after Christmas. And yes. I can remember the feeling of after Christmas, all these credit cards and interest fees and possibly a couple of late fees because you spend so much. But I guess that's about 20 years ago. I said, no more. I think I did that. And so, and so let's just set boundaries. Let this holiday season be a very pleasant, as less stress as possible for yourself and others. I'm going to say this right here. Don't cause stress for somebody else. Sometimes we don't want to have stress, but we don't want to be a cause factor for somebody else's stress. So let's not, cause stress for somebody else. Let's just not do it. So, do you have any final words? I guess 60 seconds, and you have any final comments, Ms. Kelly and Ms. Jones?
Just that the holidays magnify everything, the joy, the sadness, but make it a holiday to remember. And it doesn't have to be about money and spending. You can create memories that are that don't cost you anything. You can, volunteer somewhere and make someone else's holiday right. I had my grandchildren volunteering at my church to help Moselle Sanders. That's a holiday to remember. They're 4 and 6. To be able to bless other people. And then we go home and we go in our pantry and we pick whatever we want out of there. But do something meaningful sometimes if you don't have the money. But live within your means, set your boundaries. It's okay to say no. It's okay not to host. It's okay to, live your life however you want to, as long as you are doing what you need to do and what works for you. You can't live other people's lives. And like we were talking about, stay in your lane, mind your business, and be on your best behaviors, during the holiday. People, you don't know what people are dealing with. So be loving, be kind, be caring to your family members, to your coworkers, to, people that you see, because you don't know what a kind word, what a smile will do for someone's day. They might be ready to give up, and you saying, hi, how you doing? Have a good day. Makes all the difference. So spread love this holiday.
Very good. And I like to add to that. Think about the consequences, whatever you do. If you know that, your propensity to drink and get drunk, you shouldn't have that to people in the church, but, we might as well keep it real. There's folks in church that are drinking. I saw someone the other day, they were telling me how involved in the church and they had a couple of drinks, but if you have propensity to drink too much and you beside yourself, don't do it. If you have propensity to eat too much, cut back. Maybe have somebody say, hey, let me know when I'm doing too much. Just think about your actions. Don't do anything rational that you're going to regret the next day. Think. People say, look before you leap. Think before you make any type of irrational actions that's going to affect you. Even though if you're down, don't do something. Think about it. If you're going through depression, call somebody up and say, hey, listen, I'm going through depression. Don't. I tell people I would never want a friend of mine to commit suicide. All my friends know that you can call me. If things are bad, please call me. Don't ever feel like that no one cares. There's always somebody care. There are people that care for you that you would never know that they care about. Often, too many times, and as Kelly, we don't tell people that we love them or we value them. And then when they die at their funeral, we tell them, oh, I love them. And I've heard people say, if they knew how much they were loved, and let's show some love. That's something that don't cost you anything. Show some love. Reach out to someone and tell somebody that you care about. Tell somebody you appreciate them. So I'm telling all my friends I love you, and I want to make sure y'all appreciate me, my friends. Make sure y'all appreciate me. I don't know who y'all are, my friends. I kind of get them sometimes, but have people that you can laugh and enjoy life and have a good time. Listen, again, we thank you, Ms. Jones, for being on here. We appreciate that invaluable information. Her information, her contact information is on there. Renee, when you come back on, please put your contact information so that they can contact you as well. Thank you, ladies, you for doing a tremendous job. A lot of information. Again, if you have some questions, if you're watching this and you have some questions, feel free to type in the questions and we will get back with you. Listen, thanks again for listening. Tune in to It's My Turn Now, where everybody gets a chance to express yourself. Thank you. Enjoy the holiday. Be safe. Be prayerful.